real quick.
Okay, hello.
Hello. Let me pull up the score. All right, this is Juan. He's going to be playing the Sons de Carrilhoes. Is that how you pronounce it? Sound of bells, Sons de Carrilhoes.
To be honest, I don't know how to pronounce it
Oh,
in Portuguese. And
this is more of a question for Rafael, I think, but
yes.
it's by Pernambuco. The translation is Sounds of Bells. Beautiful piece. Can't wait to hear it.
João Pernambuco, is it?
Yes, yes.
Som de Carrilhões.
Sons de. Can you repeat that again?
Carrilhoes?
Sons de Carrilhões.
Sons de Carrilhoes.
Yes, is it?
Okay. Okay, by Pernambuco.
Can I ask something?
Yes, is that Rafael
Today,
talking?
yes. Today I need to work at 5 p.m. And maybe we have a time until there.
Sure, yes. So, what time is it for you over there right now?
And now is 1 o'clock. I think it's okay.
Oh, yes, no worries.
Okay.
If
Okay.
anything, we'll maybe, I'm going a little over time with people, but no more than really an hour, I would say. So,
Okay.
awesome. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Juan, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Do you listen? Can you hear well my guitar?
Perfect. Sounds very good. Yes. Great job, Juan. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love this piece. It's so much fun. Really, really nice. How long have you been playing this piece, Juan, if I may ask?
Well, this piece about well, I worked on it about 8 years ago, but I have forgotten it completely. And I started with it again about 4 months ago. But it was in pause for some time, and I really started to working it again when you told me that you want uh,
Yes.
to
No,
work on it.
it sounds fantastic. You're doing a lot of really, really good things in there. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, this piece is in a, again, I don't know how to pronounce this, Machixe rhythm, Maxixe, Machixe, right? Maybe. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry, I might be butchering it. But in this rhythm, there's a, it involves a lot of syncopation. It's kind of a dance rhythm similar to a polka, but with syncopation, with emphasis on the first beat, basically. As you can see from the score and from what you heard of Juan playing, everyone, you can hear the length of the melodic note on each measure, right? There's length on that first note, which kind of gives a little more emphasis to that note, of course. Very good. Okay, one technical thing I wanted to address with you, Juan. So I think there's a lot of kind of, when you were playing, you had a very, very good posture. You had very good, you were moving the left arm very, very well. But there were a couple moments where the left hand wasn't quite as balanced as it could be. And what I mean by that is, okay, we're going to go again to the 5th fret, 1st string, 1st finger, right? And just, line up your fingers all on the 1st string. So 1st finger, 5th fret, 2nd finger, 6th, 3rd finger, 7th, and 4th finger, 8th, exactly. So in this position, right, if we are kind of, with our hand, in a perpendicular direction to the strings. Strings are moving this way, the movement of kind of our hand and the knuckles is moving this way, right? If we're in this position, as I'm noticing, which you're doing a good job with, the 2nd and the 3rd fingers, they're parallel. If you look at the middle joints, right, this joint here, that kind of, the joint we use to scratch our pets, right? That joint, those two joints on the 2nd and 3rd fingers are parallel, and they're both pointing at a perpendicular direction to the strings, right? This way, strings are moving this way. Exactly. When we're in this position, the 1st finger is pointed out, so it's angled a little bit this way, and the 4th finger is angled this way. Yes. So this is a very balanced position, balanced hand position, where we are balancing on the 2nd and 3rd fingers. If I was to balance on the 4th finger, I would have to lean back so that the knuckle then is perpendicular to the strings on the 4th finger, right? Which we use often when we're above the 12th fret or when we have to do any kind of reaching exercises. The 4th finger is the one that's balanced. The 1st finger we hardly ever balance on the 1st finger except for bars. Bars were balanced on the 1st finger, similar to the 4th finger. We are actually kind of pointed, the hand points more in this direction. We rotate this way. But that's the only time I can think of where we are balanced, on the 1st finger. But in general, we are most often balanced on 2 and 3. So when you are doing, when it involves a lot of, there's a lot of kind of shifts and fret changes in this piece. So we're having to move the hand and arm quite a bit. You want to try to maintain the direction of the joints in the hand exactly when you're playing. So, I'm exaggerating, of course, you didn't do to this level, but there were a couple times where you were kind of rotating, out of position, especially as you were moving down, That could also be, there might be a lot of pressure that you're putting on the thumb too, right? Because the thumb, the function of the thumb is, to keep the balance of the hand, right? Because without the thumb, it's not very supported, but also to shift. That's it. There should never ever be any pressure with the thumb. Because if there is, then, it makes shifting a little bit kind of more of a sport for us to do, right? It's trickier for us to do the shifting, and instead of if we were to release the pressure, it's very, very gentle. So make sure that the thumb, is you have a nice loose thumb in the back, no pressure with the thumb. Make sure that your knuckles and joints are facing all the same way. That's going to help with your shifts a lot as well. Now notice what I'm doing to maintain the balance of the hand and to go down to the first few frets, which are some of our most challenging frets to play. I am actually having, to lean in to the neck a little bit. Oh, Juan, I think you froze a little bit. Oh, there you are. Could you hear me?
Okay.
Were you able to hear everything
Yes,
I
I can
said?
hear you.
Because you froze for a second.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, we were talking about this kind of
Exactly.
balance
Yeah.
with
So
the body.
we need to lean. So this is, one of the things I was saying to Pablo earlier too. that, you know, we want the guitar to be in a good position so that, you know, we can really do all of these position changes and the guitar can stay kind of in this stable position. Yeah. So for you, I actually do think that the neck is a little bit too vertical. When that happens, we have to put the arm in a bit of a different position, and then the left arm has to come up when we play, right? So that's not, you know, not quite as natural as if we were just to have the guitar a little bit lower. I think the neck can be, you know, angled just down just a little bit. Yeah. Good, exactly. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind when you're going from kind of a high position down to here. Try not to tip out, right? Keep that, all these shifts, right? You're all keeping that same balanced hand. No tension though, you don't want to force it. You just want to kind of be aware of, you know, the movements and focus the movement of the hand just a little bit more precisely, I think. So, good. And yeah, you adjusted the guitar much better now. I would say, you know, we want this to be maybe the second button, right? But then the nut, right, this piece of bone that's here at the top of the guitar, I would say everyone's a little bit different here. So I would say it should be within the facial features area, so no lower than the bottom lip. In fact, mine's actually a little low right now. No lower than the bottom lip or the chin, maybe no lower than the chin, no higher than the eyes. So if it's too high, then this happens, right? If it's too low, lower than the chin, then, you know, it's not comfortable either. So, you know, it should be approximately, you know, from here to here, give or take. You know, depends on the guitar, depends on the player. That's why I'm leaving some room, you know, for you to interpret. But yes, yeah. So that's much, much better now. Very good position that you're in. Good 45-degree angle, and the nut is in a good area. So now it's going to be a little more natural for your right hand and left hands as well. So let's start again at the beginning, and I'll stop you this time. Good, yeah. So we, you know, this machis rhythm, right? Oh, sorry. So this kind of, you know, this little syncopated moment here. This syncopated moment that we have here, right? Not the center focus of the piece. Right, so it really, I mean, the point of it is to kind of, you know, give this rhythmic quality to the piece and to help propel the motion forward in the piece, right? But the melody, right? Sorry. Go up. Right, we have this really beautiful singing melody. So just like I was saying before, having a little more emphasis. I wouldn't say accents. You don't want to, you know, you don't want it to be right over the top like that, but just make sure that this C sharp here, the do, is really kind of, you know, it's present, it's clear, and everything else in the background. You know, really make it clear kind of that we have two different voices here, right?
Sorry.
Good, much better. Now, yes, now I'm hearing, exactly, now I'm hearing that there's two different voices, right? We have this beautiful melodic line and we have this rhythmic quality too. Very, very good. You're playing it a little short, I think. You know, I think there can be a little more length to it, you know. You know, we still want to be separated like that, but not too short because, you know, then it's a hiccup, right? We don't want the hiccup, right? So just a little bit more separated, you know, or sorry, separated still, but a little bit more long, just longer, so that you know, we can still hear the rhythm and we can hear the notes that we're playing also. So let's try again. Keep going.
Sorry.
Yeah, watch out too. So you know, you're going from re, like both re's. So it's A, I, M, re, fa, right? Yeah, so you're playing A, M, I, M. Can you try?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Yes. So you were playing A, M, I, right? Where you were playing re, fa, re. Do you use solfege or?
Yes.
Yes?
I can use both.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so, you know, re or D, D, F sharp, right? Really make sure that you're playing, yeah, it's A, I, M. Oh yeah, you do have a, that's why you do have a typo in the score. I'm looking at your fingerings now. Yeah, it should be AIN, not AMI at the beginning. Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Flip
should
the
be
flip the
A.
second. Yeah, flip the second and third notes, right? So instead of playing D, F sharp, D, 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 F sharp. There you go. There you go. Yes. Yeah, so the fingering is a typo there. It should be A, I, M, right? Exactly. Very good. Very good. Good.
Okay.
Nice. Good. Yeah, I think you can. I mean, Zoom is not good with dynamics. So this, you know, this might not be you. This might just be Zoom. But I think for the sake of Zoom, exaggerate it a little bit more. I think you can be a little bit quieter on the rhythmic notes too. You know, really make sure that, you know, this melody line is clear. But we have a very gentle melodic line. It needs to be clear, right? We're not making it, you know, like muddled by any way, but, you know, make a volume difference between kind of these rhythmic notes and the melodic line, right? Why don't you start? Let's not start at the beginning though. Let's start a little bit later. Can you start on? Yeah, let's do the pickup to measure 9. So basically the same as the beginning. But you'll keep going, you know, past that.
Okay. 9. Okay. Is there order?
Yes. No, good. Let's keep going. Yes, very good. Good. Yeah. So we have, you know, right? We have this D sharp out of nowhere, right? So put a little bit of an accent there, and we have this kind of interesting dominant chord that's leading back eventually to this kind of D tonality again. So since we've kind of gone into a different tonal area, I would crescendo a little bit there. You know, I think the arrival. Oh, sorry. The arrival is there. So we have, you know. Right, I think that's where it arrives. And then we have another little chromaticism here, so I would put a little accent there. Right. So during that D sharp, right? I mean, we're playing D sharp and not D, right? We're originally in D major in re, but we're playing the re that's raised, right? So it's a note that, you know, it comes out of nowhere, right? I think putting a little bit of an accent there, you know, small accent, not over the top. And, you know, kind of continuing the motion forward. If you want to do a little accelerando, that would be stylistic as well. You know, if you want to do a crescendo, definitely I would do that as well. But, you know, make it sound like a surprise almost. It's a surprise, right? And then finally when we arrive, no longer surprise. Now we're back at home, right? The home key, the tonal area. Sorry. Right? nice in D major. But before that, we got some weird stuff happening. So can you try, let's try a couple measures before that maybe, you know, maybe start from there or wherever you want a little bit before that. And, you know, make that a surprise, you know, surprise the audience.
I don't know where to start.
Oh yeah. So actually, you know, then in that case, let's start at the pickup to measure 9 again.
Yeah, sorry.
Lovely. Not too short at the end, right? You know, a little, I mean, separated, but a little more length to it so we can hear those chords. But really nice. That was a very, very good surprise. Well done. Well done. And I loved when you put emphasis on that descending chromatic scale too. That was very, very good. Good. Okay, let's keep going now. Where are we at in time? Yeah, let's keep going. Measure, you know, the next page.
The part in G.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so here we got a whole different thing happening, right? We are changing keys. You know, we have a little bit more of this playful feeling in this moment. So I would definitely make a big contrast between the D major section in the beginning and then this section here, the change of key to G major, right? I think anytime that we have, you know, this piece is kind of in two sections, right? We have the first section, it's kind of an ABA form. First section, second section, and then it repeats back the first section, right? Basically, you know, with repeats of each section in between also. But whenever we have, you know, this B section, right, the change, you know, something that's completely different from the beginning, we want to make it sound different. We want a big contrast. I usually think do completely the opposite of what you did before. So I usually play this, you know, a little bright. Brighter, but then here, right, it's a little bit different, right? You can hear there's a different mood, right? So we always have to exaggerate the moods that we're playing, right? That way the audience can hear what's going on in our minds, right? So here, you know, you don't necessarily have to do what I was doing, right? You come up with your own interpretation, but, you know, make it different. You were playing a little bit brighter at the beginning, which I liked that a lot. But then if you're going to do that, then this, I would start maybe a little quieter. Think of it as like a little whisper. And then grow, right? Because we have chromaticism. Right? We have a little bit of the chromatic motion happening here. Anytime there's chromaticism, really that means it's leading somewhere, right? So let's, start at 18 and now make a big, big contrast between the first and second sections. Good. Now this part here, we got a tritone, right? A tritone, really, really strange intervals, right? Back in the Baroque era, it was a forbidden interval because it was known as the devil's tone, right? The devil's interval. So really, really funky. This isn't Baroque music, you know, this is much, much later, but it's still really kind of striking when we get to this interval. So I think, you know, I would think to really kind of highlight that frequency, playing it really ponticello, I think would be really kind of fun and funny. I mean, this is a funny kind of section, right? All this chromatic, right? Right? It's playful, right? We got a completely different mood before. It was, you know, maybe we can consider it beautiful, legato, like, you know, singing. But now we're playful, you know, we're not singing anymore. So I would definitely do a lot of contrast there. And I personally think playing it a little bit more kind of bright and harsh is, you know, it's funny in that moment, right? So why don't you try that? Yeah.
language.
Much, much better. I love that. That's a really, really good contrast. Nice. Let's keep going. Yeah, watch
Sorry.
out. That's C nat. That's do. That's natural, right? It's no longer C sharp.
I know, and I have actually a kind of I have listened several versions, and I noticed that some of the performers perform it with the natural tone note, and the other
With sharp?
it's sharp. But I
Yeah, I think it should be
yes,
natural. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I have not decided if to use one or the other because in my score is written natural,
Hmm.
but I have also hear it flat, so
I mean,
sharp.
okay, we are going back to D major, right?
Mhm.
Kind of, not really. But we're in G major, right?
Yes.
We're in the G major kind of realm there, right? That's the key signature that we have. So I think it should be natural because that's kind of where,
Okay.
I mean, we've completely changed keys now, right? Completely different mood, completely different idea. And, so I do think that at that moment it would be kind of unusual to have that C sharp unless it is a modulation point. But it's not really, we're not modulating, we're just going kind of returning, very slightly to
Okay.
that D major tonality with the dominant being on 24, right? But, we haven't modulated. We're just kind of, we hear that, but we haven't modulated because then we go back, right? It's back to the G major, right? So I personally think that it should be natural,
Okay. I will do it
yeah.
naturally.
Yeah, for me. Then you can, do whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think doing a little bit of a crescendo there at the end of that scale, feel like we're leading back. It's familiar territory, right? Then we have kind of this, again, very dissonant chord, dominant leading back to that G major, right? But before then, there was a little bit of a familiar territory, right? We are thinking that we're returning to this D major mode, right? So I think especially those are the notes to me that sound like they're leading towards that kind of scale, right? Towards that moment. So I would put it, maybe you can crescendo there or just make it more connected for sure to the beginning of measure 24. Yeah.
Okay. So I will start from the harmonics. The harmonics.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Yeah, the C natural, right? We were thinking, oh, that's where it wants to go, right? But then we have another tritone. So we got this other section here that, okay, we're not going back, right? We're not going back to that D major. We thought for a second, not quite. And since you're gonna start, I mean, what I would do in this section is, right, I played a little bit more kind of dolce sul tasto, a little bit kind of softer. So since I go, more into that direction, that's, this measure here, I start to move the hand a little bit more to get into that kind of, recap, that return of the G major area. Does that make sense? So, we've returned home. No, we haven't. Right? So let's, try again, exaggerate it. Surprise, good, keep going. Yeah, good. So, okay, when we have these chords here, right? We have the A minor. We have some kind of augmented sixth chord here, right? Going back to D major. So the augmented sixth chord, right now I can't think of it on the spot necessarily, Any other music theory people out there, if you know exactly like what that is, right now, please let me know, because I can't think of that, without taking too much time. But, it's an augmented sixth chord. The function of the augmented sixth is like a predominant. It leads to the dominant, right? Everything eventually leads back to the tonic, but the predominant, so the augmented sixth chord, is going to lead to D major. Oh, sorry. There, I forgot I was in D. Which is the dominant. The D major is the dominant of the G major, right? Which is where we're returning. So I think this predominant, since it's so unusual, it comes out of nowhere, right? The function is to lead to the dominant. I think that putting a little more emphasis on that E flat, the Mi, we can hear it kind of lead better back to that D, right? It feels a little bit more kind of like there's a cadence, right? It feels more like it's leading back to that arrival back on G. So I would, again, always the dominant should be kind of the strongest point, the tonic being our home key. It's a little bit softer than the dominant. The predominant, especially if it's kind of this very unusual interval, very unusual intervals like the augmented sixth chord, I think is a pretty strong moment too. So I think it should be played a little bit more emphasized, maybe a little bit louder, or at least leading, crescendoing to a louder point, and then finally arriving on that G major, which is, it's more relaxed. It's home, right? Yeah. So let's try from measure 30.
Yes.
Yeah, or in that section, I mean, measure 30. If you want to do maybe the pickups to measure 30. Yeah.
Okay, I will start in the last part of 29, of the
Yes.
measure 29,
Perfect.
and then link it with.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, a little slower if you want. No worries. Yeah, it's a tricky change, just thinking of it technically. So, between the A minor and this kind of E flat, right? E flat augmented sixth. Between those two chords, right? We have, the fourth finger is the guide, right? We're sliding the fourth finger up to the sixth fret. Yeah. And then from here to the D major, which is a tricky change, because it's we want to be thinking kind of independently here. So each finger should be moving kind of one at a time, right? Don't try to grab everything together. We're playing chords, but we're not playing them as chords, right? We're playing them as arpeggios. So I would say from here, to get it to sound a little more smooth, think of it as, okay, third finger moving first, fourth finger going down, 2, 1. Better.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right again?
Yes, please.
I forgot the point.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. No worries. I would, so since we're talking a lot about keys in general, there's a whole idea within music cognition, and music theory that keys resemble like emotions, resemble moods, resemble characters, right? And this dates back all the way to like Bach's time. I actually do think very much so that Bach was thinking of these things when he was writing, his music, and other composers during that time like Weiss, where they were thinking, what keys resemble what moods, and where do I want to kind of, take what's the mood of the music, right? So, D major, now I read a study on this and I don't exactly remember, precisely what are the words that they use to describe each keys. But D major, I remember it was something resembling a pastoral sound, pastoral. So meaning, a very kind of gentle rhythm. Think of like a pasture with cows grazing and the wind moving, like very, very relaxed, very breezy, That was, D major is usually attributed with a pastoral kind of sound. So, I usually play it maybe a little bit brighter, but a little more relaxed. It's not super dark. It's not even super kind of, super rhythmic either. It's not a march, which is also why I'm asking you to kind of play it just a little bit longer, still separated, but not, not super, super long, right? Not super short, especially. That's what D major is kind of attributed with. G major, I don't remember exactly everything that this study said about G major, but G major, it's a little bit of a more common key on the guitar and on a lot of different kind of C instruments, like the violin. And because it involves, at least on the guitar, thinking guitar, it involves a lot of the open strings, right? Anytime you have keys that don't have as many open strings, like F major or, G minor, B flat major, even then getting onto like E major, B major, the sharps territory too. Those tend to be kind of a much more closed sound, not as open. The closed sound, because you're not using the open strings as much, which in general are much kind of brighter sound than, or I guess, as you can hear, the open string in general, and I'm not changing where I'm playing it in my hand. It's just in general much kind of more open, much brighter. And so G major, because it uses a lot of the open strings, I consider it just a much more open kind of key. Now I'm asking you to do contrast at the beginning, right? So we can play it dark. I'm not saying that you always have to play it bright. But, it's more just kind of related to the mood. You have to be kind of a little bit more playful in the section. Overall, maybe a little bit more open, I think, in terms of, your emotion. There's two different emotions happening in this piece. You got this, whatever emotion you want to consider pastoral, and whatever emotion you want to consider, I would maybe say more playful, and open, right? So specifically when we arrive at the end, it's not, treat it like it's an easy key, easy chord. It's not too harsh. It's not even too bright. It's not too dark. It's just, it's easy. It's easy. It's breezy. It's fun. It's playful. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So why don't you try that cadence? Let's start from measure 31. Yeah, that was nice. And remember that the tonic is going to be a little bit softer than the dominant too, so be articulate, of course. You don't want to be weak, but just in general, a little bit softer than that. Let's try that again. Good. Zoom, it's tricky with dynamics. So I'm glad you exaggerated. I can't quite tell how soft you went or how loud you went, but you get the idea, so that was good. The only thing, I really do like Zoom lessons, the format of Zoom, because we get to do it from the comfort of our homes, right? I'm still able to see everything and hear everything, and same on your end too. The only problem is dynamics. It doesn't, we're not able to hear dynamics quite as well on Zoom, but you have the idea. Very, very good character change. Good. You know what? I love this section so much. Let's just do this again. Can you do it from 18, from the beginning of this?
sorry.
No, good, good, good. Yeah, start wherever you want in that section. That was good. I love, love all the character changes that you have going on here. Really, really nice. Lovely, lovely, really good. And then I will go back to the beginning. Before we do that, though, let me just check your fingerings real quick. So, at measure 19, go. It says to do three and 1 and 2, but honestly, you can do 4, 1 and 3. Because you have this open string, you have the time of this open string to arrive with the 4th finger on the C. On the do, right? So I mean, yes, I know it says to hold the length of the F sharp, but I honestly think it's just do an easier fingering at this moment, and then you have the time, to be able to arrive with that 4th finger. Yeah, because you're able to get easier from here to here, right? With the 4th finger, then the 3rd finger. I know we're not using, the third finger, but it's just a lot easier to reach forward, right?
Actually, I changed a little bit the fingering that was in the previous chord because it was written like
Oh yeah, no, that's
without
that's
half
so
bar here, and that
yeah.
was maybe from the bar it's easier. Well, no, either it's not easier to arrive that position.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly just think, yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so do that really slowly. Let me see your fingering in measure 18 again. Can you play 18 again? Yeah. So I do what you're doing too, because it says in your score to switch to. Oh yeah, no, it says to switch to the bar, right? So definitely not. But I do that. I just do the the fingering where I slide 1 up, and I keep 2 and 4 like you were doing. But from here, I mean, it's not very ideal because the 3rd finger is not in a placement where you can kind of tuck under the 4th finger and then reach forward like that, right? So it would involve a pretty big shift, both shifting and rotating, because in order to reach, you have to rotate back, right? So it's going from here to here. Very, very big movements that, we don't really have the time for, and why would we do that when we can make it easier, right? The 4th finger can really easily reach forward there, right? And then we lift everything, of course, but I would just, I would maybe drop the G, the low G just a little bit earlier to get that, that F sharp in position with the 4th finger. But as you can hear, I mean, it can still sound, it doesn't sound disconnected at all. And then we have time, the open string. The open strings are the best things that we have because it gives us time to transition, right? We don't need to use the left hand or even the right hand really to continue the sound. Right? We're a bell tone instrument like the piano, meaning that we work to start the sound and we have to work to stop the sound. But, the sound will continue to sound without us kind of doing anything more until we stop the sound. Like in violin or any woodwind instruments, they have to work to continue making the sound. As soon as they stop putting air or they stop the bow, the sound stops. For us, we just do this. Sound keeps going, right? We don't have to do anything else. So because of that, our open strings are most often used as points to transition, to move to a different position, you know, to go from kind of a higher position or lower to higher, to change fingerings because we can, you know, because we have the time of the open string to be able to do so. So that's why I'm saying you can repeat the fourth finger there. If the fourth finger is on the F sharp, we have the time, we have the open string that's going to sound and continue to sound. We have that time of the open string to go with, to jump with our fourth finger. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
So that's what I would do there. I would do fourth finger on the F sharp, and then keep.
I will take time to interiorize that new fingering, so maybe.
Oh no, yeah, of
I-
course, yeah, yeah. Let's. I mean, see what you can do now, but I'm not gonna like, you know, I'm not gonna have you repeat it a lot because you'll work on it on your own, absolutely. But see what you can do now, just very slowly, you know. Yeah. Excellent. I mean, it's just more connected that way. Very good. Good. How are we doing on time? Okay, one more thing I wanted to do now with you was, okay, so we played through this whole G major section, you know, we finished with these chords. And then we go back to the beginning, right? So we have section A again. However, it's not always, it's not quite the same as the first section we did. Why? Whenever there's repeats in music, we usually want to do something different with the second time through, right? The second repeat. Now, it doesn't have to be a drastic change, but there has to be something different about the second time that we play something, right? I mean, think of any, you know, any piece really by Bach. Anytime that we're repeating kind of measures in Bach, there's always something else happening, right, in that second measure, right? So this, you know, it's a little bit more clear, the repeats here in this style of music, this kind of 20th century music. So I would do something completely different on the return, right? So at the beginning, you know, I play it a little bit brighter. Sorry, there's our timer. So yeah, a little bit brighter, not too bright maybe, but you know, not super dark either. Then we had this playful section that ends here. On the repeat, what I like to do, you don't have to do what I do, but to make it very different, I actually play it a little bit sweeter. I play it a little bit different, which was different than what I did at the very beginning. How I would play it the first time through. It was a little bit softer, on the return, and when I was doing it a little bit softer, which I don't know how well you heard because of Zoom, but a little softer, a little sweeter. You probably heard that change. Some rubato in some moments too, you know, holding out some notes. Remember, in the machiste rhythm, the emphasis is on that first note, right? So in the second time through, maybe even putting a little bit more of a length of fermata on that, not fermata, sorry, a tenuto on that first note. You know, it's still stylistic and it makes it sound different than the first time. So, you know, you will come up with your own interpretation, of course, but for now, you know, why don't you just take my interpretation for now, you know, so that we can kind of work on the idea of the contrast, but then on your own you can come up with kind of whatever. Why don't you start at the beginning, first time through, and I'm going to stop you, okay? First time through.
So, the whole thing?
You're going to, start at the beginning. I'll stop you, but start at the beginning and, you know, play it, you know, this is the first time that you're playing this, right? First time through, and then I'll stop you around the middle, and then we'll jump around a little.
Okay.
Good. That's a good stopping point. Very good. Now we're going to jump ahead. Go to measure 18. Same thing. Start at measure 18, and I'll stop you. keep going, actually. I like this part, so keep going. Good. And now we repeat to the beginning. Good, good. Yes, I think you can exaggerate the contrast even a little bit more. I heard what you wanted to do, but I think it can come out a little bit more too. So I heard that you wanted to start maybe a little bit quieter, more length on the note, a little more dolce. All good things. I think you can exaggerate it even more though, because at a certain point, a little bit too soon, I think you went back to this kind of the sound that you had at the very beginning, right? Which is very good for the beginning, but we want to keep the contrast later on, right? So I think you can exaggerate that a lot more, but in general, you have the right idea, absolutely. Lovely. Do you have any questions for me, Juan?
No, it was really a great experience. Well, I'm not a professional musician. I am an engineer, but I love music, and many of the things of theory that you have mentioned has opened a little bit my mind in order to understand the idea of the chords, the intention of the chords in the piece, and how does it work. It was awesome.
Good one. I'm glad I was able to have anything that I said you can, you can take or discard, whatever. But I'm happy to be able to help. You played it really, really nicely. So keep it up. Good job. All right, let me unpin you. So next up is Rafael, but if you guys are okay, maybe we can take like a 5 to 10 minute break.